My brother-in-law told us we are required to buy Christmas gifts for all the kids in the family because we don't have children, but we refused and he completely lost his mind. My husband is 32 years old and has a very large family. Altogether, I believe his father has 8 brothers and sisters. They all got married and had between 2 and 6 kids each. Now all of those kids are grown and starting families of their own as well. At this point, there are easily around 15 children in the family. Every year we all get together for Christmas at his grandparents' house. Sounds great, right? Yeah, you'd think so. Usually after Thanksgiving, or sometimes on Thanksgiving itself when everyone is already together, we draw names for the kids' gift exchange. There is also a men's gift exchange and a women's gift exchange, which my husband and I participate in since we don't have children. To give you an idea of how gifts have worked for the last 10 years, my husband and I bought gifts for his parents, his brother, his brother's wife, and their 4 kids. Great, fantastic, it worked fine for us. Last year they said they would prefer that we only buy gifts for the kids, so we did. Same as always, we bought books appropriate to their reading levels, pajamas, and some kind of puzzle. They were upset, but we didn't know why. We also didn't receive any gifts at all, which we didn't comment on, but my husband admitted that it hurt a little not to receive anything from his parents, while his brother and sister-in-law did receive gifts. I'm not a super social person, so I spent most of Thanksgiving reading a book and watching one of the younger cousins nap. It's also possible that I took a nap myself, but that hasn't been confirmed. Eventually everyone gathered so the kids could draw their cousins' names for the gift exchange. They finished that, and then my husband's brother, who we'll call Timmy, said, "And Uncle will buy a gift for all the kids too." My husband and I stared at him with matching looks of what the hell and absolutely not. We laughed and said, "Oh no, haha, this year we'll just bring the candy again." That's when his brother started in, saying that we should buy gifts for all the kids since we don't have any, and that it wasn't very Christian of us not to bless the children with our good fortune. At that point my husband pulled him aside into the kitchen and told him that he was not buying gifts for all the cousins, and that if Timmy wanted to do that himself, he was free to do so. They started arguing, and Timmy shouted that we shouldn't come to Christmas ever again. We handed back the baby and left. We said we would email later, when everyone had calmed down enough to speak like adults. I'd really like another perspective here. My husband is genuinely upset, and his parents agree with Timmy that we should give more gifts since we don't have anyone to buy for except children now. My husband pointed out that we didn't receive gifts from anyone, and they said that we're adults and that Christmas is for children. He pointed out that they do still give gifts to Timmy and his wife, but they said those had already been bought, so too bad. But I've gone shopping with his mother, and I saw her buying gifts for Timmy's wife, Candy. Once again, I'm frustrated, and I feel like nobody is handling this well. I want to step in and help my husband, but before I do anything other than listen and suggest things like I feel ____ when you ____, I want someone else to look at this mess. To summarize, my husband's family wants us to buy Christmas gifts for all the cousins' kids, which are so numerous a rabbit would blush. We said no, and for that reason, we were uninvited from Christmas. The family agrees with them and supports this. I did not have the best nap. Edit 1, I've read all the comments and replied to some. I'm out right now, but when I get home I'll edit this or respond to more comments. Thank you for all the perspective. Edit 2, I replied to some comments, showed the thread to my husband, and sent an email. We haven't been answering their phone calls. We asked them to please read and respond only by email so we'd have time to think and respond calmly. We've received several nasty voicemails because of this. We're going to let them simmer a bit longer and continue ignoring their calls since they're still yelling. Edit 3, I think the idea of bulk buying kazoos on Amazon, the musical instrument that alters the human voice, sounds like a good idea. We could even throw in some cheap vuvuzelas. If we do end up being re-invited, the kids usually play outside a lot at Christmas and I normally bring bubbles. Bubbles plus annoying noises sounds amazing. For me. Probably not for their parents. Edit 4, they should actually have at least as much money as we do, if not more. Timmy easily makes around $700,000 a year just from his job. His wife stays home, but very occasionally sells a house. My husband and I both earn between $100,000 and $170,000. We just save almost everything and live simply. We definitely have a less stressful life, but that's because we're not running between 4 kids' activities, homeschooling, and running a church and a farm. Edit 5, we could donate to Planned Parenthood in their name and get a card saying so. I honestly think they would completely lose their minds if we did that. So it was actually nice to see that Ben also thought Timmy was being unreasonable, especially since they're usually very close despite being cousins. I'm not going to post his email here, I'll just highlight what he said and then tell you what Kit and Rhonda said in their email and during their visit. According to my in-laws, I am a cold, child-hating harpy who sleeps with anyone. I'm either atheist or Muslim or something, they never really clarified. Apparently, according to my in-laws, I must be between religions right now. I am dragging everyone away from church and from their family. We don't spend any time with the family anymore. We never spend time with our nieces and nephews. We are wasting our lives, time, airline miles, and money volunteering with animals. Helping and wanting to help refugees is un-American. And all of this is my fault because I am a first-generation American and don't understand what it means to be American or to deserve living here. I'm rude and never talk to them unless it's about animal rescue and animal rights. At this point, we were half laughing, half crying, and half in shock. We spent the rest of the day cleaning our house and talking about what we wanted to do and how to respond. We hadn't checked our emails. We had our phones on vibrate and were just trying to enjoy our day off together. Sadly, our days off together are pretty rare. So, surprise, his parents drove all the way over to talk to us. By talk, I mean talk at us. They asked me to leave so they could talk to Todd about his actions and the rude email. Todd said no. He said I was his family, his wife, and that we were handling this together. Then they tried to convince us that we had said the word fuck in front of the family. We technically hadn't. That we had mentioned buying gifts for everyone before. That we no longer loved Jesus since we hadn't been going to church. And some of the things Timmy had sent in his email came up as well. When his father started insulting me, and then my father, that was the end of it. Todd stood up and said, "Thanks for visiting our home for the first time, but we have errands to run and you need to leave now." They refused. He told them they needed to leave now or he would call the police. They left. He cried. I cried. Our cats knocked over their water bowls. We ended up calling my dad and telling him everything, as well as showing him both emails. He told us that they had talked trash about me before, telling him, "You should still be able to fix your daughter. We're still working on ours." That's something they had apparently said. We decided we are not going to their Christmas no matter what. I told Todd that I cannot go back there again, and I cannot see any of them the same way again. I knew they never liked me as much as some of the other daughters-in-law, but I didn't know it was to this extent. They had always been kind and polite to my face. They invited me and included me in everything. No one had ever said anything to Todd either. As things stand now, I'm waiting for my dad and my brother to get into town, and then we'll sit down and decide what we want to do. Todd said he just wants to keep things small and doesn't care where we spend Christmas. He said he feels closer to my dad and my brother anyway. We told Ben what happened and mailed his gift to him. I haven't decided what I'll do with the gifts for the nieces and nephews, but I already donated all the adult gifts. If I had to summarize my story, it would be something like, I suck, Todd is whipped, we're blind, we're all going to hell, praise be the red underline for making my spelling look less stupid. We sent an email, got an email back, the email was forwarded, the parents showed up, everything went to shit, it's all my fault, we're not going to Christmas, and we won't talk to them until after the holidays. I'd also like to add that I'm not of another ethnicity. My father is German and moved to the United States when he was 20 to marry my mother, so I'm a pale white girl. But I guess because my dad isn't American, that's bad. Very, very bad. Edit, my husband and I are very close. We weren't always. When we went through the drama with my family, my mother, my sisters, and their families, and part of my dad's family, it was hell. We weren't united then. He was kind of friendly with my mother, and she fed him sob stories until he believed many lies that I had already started questioning about my childhood. So we fought like cats and dogs until he finally listened and I said what I was thinking and feeling. It could have ended there. I could have stayed with my dad and my brother and nothing else. But we worked through it. We communicated. We forgave. We made a plan of action to deal with my mother's manipulative bullshit and went to war. In the end, I would do anything for Todd, even endure being around his family again next year once the wounds heal a bit. I know it will be much harder for him to give them up than for me. I suggested that we both go back to the therapist I was seeing before when we were dealing with my family. I think it will help him identify some other issues. Cats are the best. The one who knocked over the water bowl demanded cuddles, while the other one cleaned up all the water. It turned out fine. I would absolutely adopt 4 cats again. Update 2. I wish this update were we all made peace and Christmas will be great, cookies for everyone, but it's not. Yesterday we had a small Christmas party with some friends, since we're leaving on the 24th for a trip. It will be me, Todd, my dad, my brother, who I'll call Theo, and my friend Sandy. Sandy grew up near me, we've been friends for years, and she also became friends with Timmy and his wife. They're Facebook friends. We had told her there was a fight but didn't elaborate so we wouldn't damage her friendship. Big mistake, because she tagged us in a post saying, "Yay, look at my gift," with crying eye emojis. My friend is traveling for Christmas. The photo was of the 2 of us drinking and dancing around her new Roomba. To clarify, this gift wasn't just for Christmas. It was for her Christmas, birthday, wedding, and housewarming. She and her fiancé Bill just bought a new townhouse near us. Normally I wouldn't buy something that expensive just for Christmas. Then Timmy saw the post. Not only was he offended that we were drinking, none of them drink and they're very against it, he completely lost it because she got a Roomba. He lost his mind in the comments and then showed up at our apartment. I was in the shower when Timmy showed up. I heard someone pounding on the door, loud enough to hear over the water. I finished my shower about halfway through the fight between Todd and Tim. Todd said Tim was slamming on the door aggressively. Todd opened it and refused to let Tim come past the hallway. Tim was screaming about the gift, about us not going to church, about us going on a trip, demanding the gifts for his kids that we had already donated, and asking what right we had to buy such an expensive gift for someone who wasn't family, and basically calling us selfish assholes for not buying gifts for all the other kids. At this point I came out of the shower in pajamas, it was almost 1 a.m., and saw Timmy. I was in shock. Todd told Tim it was late and that we could talk about this when we got back from the trip. Tim shoved Todd. Todd hit the wall, leaving a dent. This woke up my dad and Theo. I stepped in front of Todd because Tim was pulling back to punch him. Tim hit me instead, knocking me into Todd. My dad and Theo grabbed him. Our next-door neighbor woke up and called 911. The police arrived and separated everyone. We told them what happened, but didn't go into the earlier issues, just that there had been a Christmas disagreement. The important part was that Timmy showed up in the middle of the night to fight. They also called an ambulance because Todd had cut his arm on a broken plate, and my face was turning purple fast. The EMTs knew Todd and were furious that both of us were hurt. The police asked if we wanted to press charges. I started to say yes when Todd said absolutely yes, so Tim was arrested. We went to the ER because Todd needed stitches. Our phones haven't stopped ringing since. I turned mine off after telling Sandy not to let Tim or Candy see any posts about us since they're angry with us. She agreed. I went through Facebook and restricted anyone who was friends with his family so they can't see anything we do anymore, hopefully. Rhonda and Kit have been blowing up Todd's phone. He has only responded by text, saying what happened, that we would not drop the charges or pay bail, and that they should stop contacting us entirely. Between the last update and this one, we talked to other family members, and all of them said they didn't agree with Timmy. His grandparents said the same, but said they couldn't host Christmas or stop him from uninviting us. They said they'd talk to him, and we thought maybe next year we could be friends again. That's no longer the case. There's no coming back from this. We will be filing for a restraining order when we get home. Todd is thinking about us moving out of state. My dad and Theo think it's a good idea. My dad is upset because I didn't let him hit Tim, so he's a bit grumpy, but really, I think he's just sad that we've basically lost another family. So yes, I get to enjoy my trip with a black eye and bruised cheek. Todd has a 10-centimeter gash in his arm. My dad is mad because he didn't get to punch anyone. And Theo is happy because he's smoking weed. Merry fucking Christmas to everyone, just kidding. I think we're doing just fine without buying 500 presents. So that was terrifying. I can't believe someone would act that way over gifts they could easily buy themselves. At least we have a camera in the entry hallway. We actually live in an apartment, so we should be fine. That's really the only reason I want to email the pastor. I have a tiny hope that Tim has started using crack or something. Either way, they'll find out he was arrested when he doesn't show up for the church nativity play. I'm not sure if I have to appear in his court hearing or trial, but if I do, it's going to make him look horrible. He's about 2 meters tall and I'm not even 1.5 meters. I'm still very upset that he hit Todd. His supervisor also chewed him out, so now they know all the crap going on at home. I don't like it when coworkers know our family drama. People are very judgmental. Update 3. People were asking for an update, so I waited until the trial to do this properly. There's a lot to cover leading up to the trial because a lot has been happening. One of those things is that Christmas is over, and honestly, I think that's a good thing. I think I hate Christmas and that need to buy gifts is what brought us to this point, or at least it was the trigger. As suggested, we made a very detailed post, and by detailed I mean photos of everything that happened. We titled it Timmy's Christmas Gift, even though that isn't his real name. We posted the ugly wound on Todd's arm and my swollen face, all courtesy of Timmy. We posted it, and whoever wanted to read it did. Whoever wanted to defend Timmy did. And whoever wanted to defend us could do so as well. There was a huge family fight afterward, but I wasn't very involved in it. I told my husband I couldn't keep dealing with his family, but he could do whatever he wanted. I blocked the few people who sent messages that weren't some version of Timmy is an idiot, but I know Todd was still receiving some. To summarize, because this could get very long, he is not speaking to his parents and some of his siblings who are defending Timmy. They aren't really defending him, they're defending themselves, because obviously defending someone like Timmy would make them look bad. Instead, they want unity and that kind of nonsense people talk about at Christmas to erase mistakes that never should have happened in the first place. Timmy was released on bail a few days after Christmas because the entire judicial system was basically shut down and no judge wanted to stop drinking punch and eating food just to keep a Timmy in jail. The good news is that we didn't have to deal with another attack from him at our home, although there was some drama involving his wife that happened after the trial. I'm going in chronological order here, so bear with me. We got to the trial and I was called to testify, as was Todd. We both gave our accounts, and there were also reports from the paramedics who treated us, the police who responded, and even the poor neighbor. We woke up with a very typical family fist and shove fight, you know the stuff that happens in all families. Then we got to sentencing day and the verdict was read for Timmy, probation, community service, and a sum of money to be paid to us for damages. Yes, he was released, though on probation. That brings us to the second part of Timmy's life and his mess over a Roomba, because he literally got insanely jealous over a Roomba and it ruined his life. And that's not even the second part yet. But the pastor found out about what happened, and they were kicked out of their congregation. It wasn't a formal excommunication with a ceremony, but Timmy and his family were told that maybe this congregation wasn't the right fit for them. So the trial ends, and he has to comply with certain conditions. One was community service. The second was not committing any crimes until his probation ended. If you do, you have to be prepared to be locked up and serve the same amount of time, but in prison, on top of whatever new sentence you get for the new crime. That new crime was beating his wife. It wasn't because of everything going on in his life. This had been happening before. His wife Candy just waited until he had a guilty verdict so she could use the report to get him locked up. I can't say I saw it coming, but I also haven't had much contact with Candy during this time. Actually, I've had no contact at all. And that's how he completely ruined his life. In other posts, I mentioned that he had a well-paying job and could have bought all the gifts if he wanted to. However, his wife is divorcing him, he's lost his income, and I have no idea how much he's spent on lawyers since all of this began. Now he has to serve his probation time in prison, plus an additional charge for domestic violence. Candy is filing for a fast-track divorce because of his current situation, and my in-laws are heartbroken, or at least that's what we can assume through Todd, since he isn't speaking to them either. We only hear things secondhand from some relatives, and it's nothing good for my in-laws' emotional health. I think people might ask whether I'm afraid that when he gets out, he could do something to us. Honestly, he could have done something during the entire time before the trial, and he didn't. You could say he didn't do it so he wouldn't jeopardize his case, but once he serves his sentence, that doesn't disappear from his record. If he ever has to go to court again, that will be used by any prosecutor as an aggravating factor. On top of that, we have a restraining order, and violating that would be yet another charge. Combined with the fact that he won't have money to hire high-powered lawyers anymore, it seems unlikely that he'll mess with us again. Maybe we should buy him a Roomba to help keep the floor of his cell clean, but that would be too petty. Besides, I don't like giving expensive gifts unless there are multiple occasions at once. Going to prison alone isn't enough. I'd need it to also be his birthday, Christmas, and for him to be having a wedding with another inmate in there before a Roomba from me would be justified.